Hello everybody, welcome to a very special Newcastle Fans TV podcast. As you can hear, you'll hear some traffic behind us. We are actually walking from the Stadium of Light to St James's Park, and we are just past Bolton, and we're on Newcastle Road. I've got some YouTubers which you'll be aware of. I've got some Sunderland fans with us, Middlesbrough fans, and of course Newcastle fans as well. Obviously this is predominantly a Newcastle podcast, so we will be talking predominantly about Newcastle in this podcast, but also we'll have a little Mickey take about Sunderland and how they're getting on as well. I'm next to Mackham as well, so we'll begin with him shortly. But you know, the reason why we're doing this walk is to raise money for Bradley Lowery Foundation. That's the reason why we're doing it. This podcast, any money made from it will be donated as well. At this present moment, as far as I'm aware, we're about a tenner off our original goal, which was 300. Hopefully by the time this goes out, we've smashed that. Our employees, my employer Sky, will match that up to £300 as well, so hopefully that's good, well, over 600 quid hopefully. But yeah, if you've got any spare change, even if it's a couple of quid, it's gofundme.com/Bradley Lowery. All the local press have been there this morning, the likes of ITV, Maiden Town We Are, Metro Radio, BBC Radio, and the Sunderland Echo as well. None have you got. So let's begin with how we started. Jamie, do you want to come on this? So Jamie's shaking his head, so I will then. Swansea 0, Newcastle 1. So it was basically, we went down to the Liberty Stadium and we won 1-0, and it was Jamaal Lascelles who scored the goal as well. Can you remember much? I've got Lawrence Taylor with us. Remember when we went down to Swansea and we won 1-0? What was your initial thoughts of the game? You'll need to hold the mic.
Well, really tight game. Definitely one would have lost under Pardew, Carver, McLaren. I mean, that termination from Lascelles to clear the ball off the line from Abraham. I'm thinking, would Colchini have ever done something like that, for example?
Yeah, I think the performance wasn't great, was it? We're set up very counter-attacking, and you know, we're looking at it and think this isn't the greatest performance. Swansea were trying to target our right back, coming our right side, targeting our left back, which was Jesus Gamas. And I actually thought he had a hell of a game, considering he just came out in from the cold because of Mbemba not playing, and now Mbemba's form recently up to this was fairly decent at left back. Gamas for me had an absolutely outstanding game, and yeah, you talked about Lascelles, you know, the zonal marking, it just doesn't work, does it? And Jamaal Lascelles leaped up and scored. What do you think of his performance? Because that was world class. He hasn't mentioned the one off the line as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When he scored that goal, I just thought about the other time when he scored against Swansea last time we won the Premier League as well. But yeah, it was. But I remember he said in the post-match interview he was pretty annoyed that he allowed Abraham to get around Elliott. So I mean, that might have just motivated him to clear that ball off the line.
And this was obviously after the back of we beat West Ham 3-0. So Newcastle starting to have a run together, picking up the league table. Because at the start of the season, when we got someone honked the horn at the start of the season, we obviously had them 2 defeats. Were you worried at that point?
I was a bit worried. I was probably a lot more worried when we lost to Forest.
Won the cup.
Yeah, but after that West Ham game, I thought, all right, we'll probably need to be playing a target man up front. I mean, we attack a lot, we play a lot better because we're playing a lot better with Hostel starting up front.
Yeah, the focal point with Hostel because he came on earlier on the season against Huddersfield, and he started ever since. And Dwight Gale, can't get on that side. So we got the 3 points, you know, and it was a very I wasn't saying lacklustre performance. It was a very professional performance. Mikel Merino again had a really good game. I know he's been accused of diving in that game, but Newcastle got the 3 points as well. So we're going to come off that. We're walking in a crowd, so I've got people in front of us, people behind me. So I'm going to come back to Sharky, so you all know who Sharky is as well. So I'm walking with Sharky at the minute. So we went to the under-23s when we played Norwich, if you can remember this. We're due 2-2.
Yes, I remember that. We were 2-0 at half time, didn't we? We let it slip.
Yeah, so we're switching the focus off the Swansea game to the under-23s because we're going to be talking a little bit about them as well in this podcast. Going to need to ask you to hold the mic. So we went 2-0, as you mentioned, and this is the start of Newcastle's bad run in the under-23s, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to go 2-0 up against Norwich and then just to let the lead slip, you know, with what, something like 10-15 minutes to go to make it 2-2 was a blow, really. And this is how the sudden decline down the league. Recently they lost 6-2 to Southampton away from home. Was it only last week? You know, so they're leaking goals left, right and centre. And then again last week the Blackburn game, again nothing was really happening. The formation wasn't there. The shape was all wrong. Again, we lost to a decent Blackburn team, in the league by 2-0. And again, Peter Bielsa has to try and rectify what the problem is. You need to get your shape. The shape needs to be a lot better. The formation might need tweaking a little bit. Do something different and try and push up that league, because at the minute it's looking worrying. Yeah,
the under-23s are really struggling. We'll talk a little bit more about them. But when this podcast goes out, Newcastle, I think, was 7 games in a row that Newcastle under-23s have been beaten, which is an awful record. They play tonight, ironically, which is Sparta Prague, but obviously this podcast will go out after that. Just going to come to Johnny, who's also Toon fans. Johnny on fan cams. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? Smiling away. So, we went up against Stoke and we won 2-1 with goals by Atsu and Jamaal Lascelles. Lascelles again scoring. What was your overall thoughts on the game in general? You hold the mic.
I thought it was probably our best performance at home this season. If you look at the games we've had, it's our biggest test up to date, and I thought we really held our own. Defensively, we were really solid. Kieran Clark and Jamaal Lascelles, as I mentioned on my fan. They were just really, really strong, and they didn't really have many problems to deal with. But
there was the warning signs with Shaqiri, wasn't it? Because there's a couple of times where he was coming inbound off that right flank, shooting, and then obviously scored as well. That was just an accident waiting to happen, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. He was getting a bit of stick in the first half as well, and then he got the goal. It was a good finish, but I was more impressed how we battled back and how we responded. We had that big penalty appeal, which got turned away. And then, straight after that, we got the corner and got the goal. And
what do you reckon? Because Jamaal Lascelles was saying, look, he loves zonal marking. Mark Hughes was saying that that they were talking about Jamaal Lascelles, but they clearly weren't, because Stoke was zonal marking, and there's Lascelles to score again.
Yeah, it didn't really make much of a difference. He still managed to get a run at his marker and got a really strong header. But I think, especially now, we're getting a lot more goals from set pieces where we didn't under previous managers. And it's a real plus now, because we do look a threat every time we get set pieces. Richie with his deliveries, it's second to none in the league. And if we can get more goals from that, people will have to try and do different things, because like West Brom last season, I think they got something like 40% of the goals right through set pieces, which is crazy. If you can't, and when you're trying to work out how to stop a team, and you still kind of stopped like 40% of your goals for the whole season, that is tough. But we do look a threat, and it's nice to see for a change.
It was also, we won 3 games from 3, which, God, I can't remember that last time in the Premier League, because we had that the first 2 games when it looked a little bit worrying. And the transfer window shut, and Newcastle's togetherness was there. Got 3 wins and 3, and we looking at the league table, I think we were somewhere around about 7th or 8th at that time, after winning those 3. Just goes to show you, I think we've got this world-class manager who can get the very best. I don't want to say average squad, because it's not the word I would say, a lesser squad. Would you agree along all those lines?
Yeah, definitely. I'll put this out to you. If you were to look at the team, say not the top 6 managers, to take away Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, I think we've by far got the best manager from all the rest of those teams in the Premier League. I think you look at what he's doing with an average team, and people say, well, imagine what you could do with a bit of money. Imagine what he could do if he had a striker that could score a couple more goals this season. Because if we had a striker who could possibly get another 4 or 5 goals from what we've already got, who knows where we could have been, because we've had a really good start this season, and the manager has got a massive say in that because of the way he gets teams ready. He just manages to get results, and it proves, and we're so lucky to have him. I'll keep on saying that, and if we can keep him for another couple of years, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think probably Rafa is probably better than some of them, because if you look at Arsene Wenger at the minute,
that's my big worry.
Because Rafa Benitez can do a lot better than what Arsene Wenger's doing with that side. You just touch upon their strikeouts just before we come off the subject. Hosler was getting a lot of stick after this game because he missed a good couple of chances. Do you think this is fair criticism? Because judging by what we've bought a 5 million striker who you get what you pay for. Do you think the criticism of Hosler was harsh?
Slightly, but you're rewriting what you're saying. £5 million, you know what you're going to get. Nowadays £5 million is not going to get you anything. Like, you've seen clubs that have spent a lot more money on average strikers and they're still not getting the goals. So you've got to really pay top dollar. We've been quite lucky in recent years. You like see your Denver Bars and your Cisse, where we didn't actually have to pay a lot of money. Regardless of what you think about Cisse, he did score some goals for us. But in terms of Hostel, he is getting chances. I think the other game on Saturday was the only game where he didn't actually have a chance on goal. So
the Palace game.
Yeah, the Palace game where we didn't really have. He didn't have a chance on goal. But he's got competition in Mitrovic. Mitrovic is a very similar player. Likes to be a bit physical. So he knows there's competition. But I think the fact that he links up well with Perez, links up well with the wingers, is probably just about keeping him in the team at the minute. But I'm not giving up on Hostel just yet. I do think you'll get a couple more goals. I just think it's a confidence thing with him. I think with that Liverpool goal, he probably he'd be counting all these lucky stars.
Thank you very much, Johnny. We shall come back to it. I'll come back to that Liverpool game. So the minute I'm going to run up and speak to Malcolm. So, Jackson.
Hello, mate.
Mark Jackson.
Hi.
So obviously you're a Newcastle fan, and you obviously Mark works with me at Sky. Gets a bit of stick. Sunderland fan. Did I say Newcastle fan?
Yeah, mate. I thought you were taking the mick. I just let it slide.
I've got other things going on in my mind today. Right. So you're a Sunderland fan, and you get a bit of stick off me, banter-wise. I mean, what's happening?
Out enough. So
yeah, you can dish it out. I mean, what's going on with Sunderland this season? I need you to hold the mic.
Only bad things at the minute.
What like?
Lack of team spirit. I think Darren Gibson said it. Well, he got slated in the media for it, but I think he hit a point when he said the players aren't playing.
I know what you mean. Do you think Simon Grayson's the right man for you?
Jury's out, if you ask me. I don't think he's a bad manager, but it's not worked so far. I know he's came out in the media and said he needs a couple of years, like what he did with, I think it was Preston, where he's going to need some time to build. But I wasn't expecting such a bad start of the season, though. Put it that way.
Do you think being 23rd is a fake position?
How do you mean?
Because you're 23rd at the moment. Surely you're not going to finish there. Are you worried that you might go down again?
Well, I've just been talking to Jamie there, so I think there's a good reason to be worried there, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. I should come back to Jamie's another one who I work with. Is too shy to come on camera. So I'm just going to move back a little bit. Where is she? So I've got another Sunderland fan somewhere. I don't know where she's gone. Right, we'll come back. We're going to move on to Newcastle played. We're going to switch this. We'll come back to Sunderland. Newcastle then played. Just come back to Newcastle. We played the under-23s away at Brighton. We drew 0-0, and it was a good point, I think, for the under-23s. I know they're on a horrible run of form at the moment in the 23s, but if you're going all the way to Brighton and you get a point in a clean sheet, you probably take that. The under-23s haven't really seen much of Victor Fernandez and Yassin Ben Almani much recently. And the under-23s do play the same formation as what the first team do play as well. So maybe that's from Rafa's coming down to the under-23s that, look, you have to play this formation. But what I would like to see with the under-23s is a little bit more excitement, mix it up a little bit. I mean, we'll talk about later on when me and Sharky watched the under-23s just fairly recently and we got beat 2-0 Blackburn. Just mix it up a little bit. I don't like seeing this stale 4-2-3-1, so I like to see mix up. But a point on the road, you can't really argue. So I've got Alicia next of us. Say hello.
Hello.
So we're going to be talking about when we got beat at Brighton, 1-0. So if you try and just have a little think. So we got beat 1-0 off Brighton, after Newcastle had that great run of winning 3 games from 3 with Hamed scoring for them. Should have been sent off possibly as well, and poor marking for their goal. So going to Brighton, were you optimistic at first? I need you to hold the mic.
Yeah. I was optimistic going into it. We had decent performances against decent sides. Like Tottenham. Yeah, we lost 2-0, but you could see the performance was there. We did well against them in the Championship, and to be honest, I was expecting we'd at least get a point from that, but it kind of just all fell apart. Yeah.
So we've obviously the marking for that goal when Dale Stevens spins round the back and heads back across the goal, and then Hamed scores. Newcastle, to be honest, have been really, really good at the back, and that slight lack of concentration in the Premier League, you do it for a second and it punishes you. Was there anyone at fault, or was it too difficult to read?
I think it was too difficult to read. I think it was just like a complete lapse in concentration, as you said. And maybe you can get away with that in the Championship sometimes, but in the Premier League, it's a step up and you're going to get punished for things like that.
Should he have gone, Hamed? Because he obviously, there is that, was it a stamp, was it not a stamp, and he got banned for 3 games. What's your thoughts on that stamp?
Well, if he got banned for 3 games, then surely it should have been sent off because there's obviously something there.
Yeah, and obviously Newcastle fans have been, saying that we don't get anything, but we've got to wait for the Yedlin one, which is coming up as well. Since I've got you next to us as well, I just want your thoughts. Then the under-23s played it was the next night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you've seen the likes of Dwight Gale feature, Jack Colback, Rolando Aaron storm the under-23s. Just taking Dwight Gale aside at the moment, what's the futures for Rolando Aaron's?
Well, hopefully he can break into the first team, to be honest. I think if he gets his chance, he could do well. I think he's a bit like Jacob Murphy and he needs that chance. I think they're both very similar. I think it would be good to see both of them get a chance.
Has he gone backwards over Rolando Aaron? I know he had the injury last year, but he was involved with the first team. I know it's the championship, but has his career gone a little bit backwards?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Rafa doesn't trust him with a step up or what, but I think you could see him probably getting loaned out. I think that would be the best option for now. Get him loaned out, get him some experience, and then try and bring him back.
He's too good for the under-23s, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. You can see when you watch them, you can see the clear difference between which players are our first team ones and which ones have that experience over the under-23s.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alicia. I shall come back to you, so I'm just going to drop back at the queue. We've got Anthony next to us. I may as well talk to you about the Liverpool game. So I was in Miami watching this. Going to the Liverpool game, initial thoughts going into that, were you a little bit worried with Liverpool coming to town?
I was, although Liverpool were in bad form recently. It was still Liverpool, still quality team. So I was hoping for the result we got. I was hoping for a draw. But when we started the game, everything looked a lot more even than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Considering it was Liverpool coming to your house. So hoping for a win. Liverpool obviously got the goal through Coutinho because they weren't playing that well going forward.
Do you think, because Rob Elliott's got a bit of criticism for that goal against Coutinho, I think it's one of them, it's the worldie you can't do nothing about. Is that unfair by some Newcastle fans?
Yes, quite a bit unfair. It was proper top corner. And of course the thing is Coutinho could have went for the other corner. So, although a lot of people are saying Rob Elliott should have moved a bit to be ready for that goal, Coutinho could have chosen any corner he wanted. He could have even crossed it in to somebody else. So Rob Elliott had to take into consideration that ball could have ended up anywhere for him.
Yeah. Now, Hostler was getting a bit of stick the previous 2 matches because he was wasting chances against Stoke. Brighton, he probably should have scored when he turned and fired wide. But that was some goal by Hostler, wasn't it?
Liverpool, and there was an interesting one. At first I thought it was genuinely a goal. He just tapped it right hand corner.
I thought it was an own goal at first.
I thought Hostler would just hit it nicely and it went in. It was a really weird goal if that was the case. And then obviously replay cracked off. Matip went in for the slide. Technically a good challenge.
Yeah.
The fact that he did it. Obviously, unfortunately, hit Hostler back and just went very leisurely into the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, you're saying it was a very fortunate goal as well, but Liverpool didn't really offer that much considering they're a team that want to try to challenge for the Premier League. Yeah, I know they had a couple of chances later on in the second half, but yes, Newcastle were happy to take a point. Newcastle weren't great on the eye, but never were Liverpool minding. Jurgen Klopp said afterwards that it's not a happy place to go and play football for him, but were you surprised how poor Liverpool were?
For the whole season, yeah.
Not just that game as well?
Not just the game, the whole season. The only problem they've had so far is that players like Marnie and Sturridge haven't scored, and they haven't got a defence that's perfect. The defence isn't absolutely terrible, when you compare it to other lower down clubs, but they need to be scoring the goals to do it. Creating loads of chances. Their midfield's one of the best in the league.
Yeah. Was that for you a point gained?
Point gained, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to move back to the queue. Let's see who's next. We've got a Sunderland fan. I'm going to see if I can get Jessie on this. Hiya, Jessie. You alright?
Oh, you're going to represent you?
No, I've had Jackson on, so I've got Jessie who works with us as well. I'm just going to switch the focus to Sunderland at the minute then. What's going on with Sunderland?
I don't know.
She's just laughing because she doesn't know what to say. Oh, what's going on? She's putting the mic away, she's just giggling. Well, are you going to stay up?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't support them.
She doesn't support them, the ID?
Well,
She's just pushing us away. Right, I'm going to move up. Because she's pushing us off. Right, I'll talk to you. Right. Okay, then. So we're talking about the podcast of what's been going on in the last 6 weeks. So, you know, Freddy Shepherd. What's your memories of him? Yes, he put money in the club, put Newcastle into debt, but you tried, didn't he? That's what all you can ask for with Freddy Shepherd. What's your first memories of him, and what he went through and so on, and what you tried to do for the club? Need to hold the mic.
I've got good and bad memories of Freddy Shepherd. First off, the bad memories, he famously with him and Douglas Hall, you know, calling Newcastle Lascelles dogs, and Alan Shearer, Mary Poppins and all that. He did plough the money into the club. He made our record signing in Mikel Merino
And Shearer.
as well. He was always never afraid to face the media as well. The complete opposite of Ashley as well. In fact, he only agreed to make Goal if he could have a cameo in it, which he actually did. The film, the Goal, which we could do with Santiago Munez at the minute, in the team. Well, Sunderland definitely could. It's a shame that he was passing, because deep down he was an absolutely huge Newcastle fan. Nobody can actually deny him that. He was born and bred, Newcastle daft. He only wanted the best for the club. He made a good few decisions for us. He did leave us in a lot of debt. I'll always blame Mikel Merino for that, no matter what anybody says. But that's just me talking with my head, not my heart. Sorry, not my heart, not my head. But yeah, he'll be sorely missed, I think.
What will he? What will Freddy Shepherd be remembered for?
I think he'll be remembered. One, he actually, while he was in charge of the club, we became within a whisker of winning the Premier League, and we should have won that as well. Him and Sir John Hall. He was instrumental in bringing Shearer to the club in that golden era, the entertainers era as we call it, and I just think he actually understood the fans as well. I think that because he was a fellow Geordie himself, he actually understood the fans and how passionate the area was and everything. So I think that's what he'll be kind of remembered for. Under Freddy Shepherd, we actually had more good times than bad times. I would have thought, So I just think everybody should really have fond memories of him. You know what I mean? There's little things that people will just, say, well, he done this, he done that, he called Shearer this, whatever. That's just nitpicking. But I just think he had the club at heart.
Thank you very much, Nick. So that is Nick, who I work with at Sky. Jesse, you're too camera shy. Can I get any news on?
What?
Talk about the tune.
I don't really know much about them.
Do you not know much about it?
No, not.
Chris, are you a tune fan?
I'm a tune fan, mate.
Do you want to
talk about them? I'm not too clued up to talk about them, mate.
That's the man I want to see.
David, you're a Borough fan. Well, actually, I'll talk about Middlesbrough with you at the minute. And obviously, you're a mad. This is David, who I work with. For the guys who are listening. So you're a mad Borough fan. You got relegated. Was it because you didn't have enough people who scored your goals? You need to hold the mic.
Yeah, last season was a major problem because if you look at the stats in the Premier League, Middlesbrough had the least amount of shots on target, least amount of goals, least amount of chances created. It was just too defensive. The manager thought that you needed to be defensive. You can't do that in the Premier League. You got to go out and attack. A bit like Bournemouth did. They stayed up. Yes, they're letting goals. They might win, might let in 2, 3 or 4, even 5 goals. But that's counteracted by the games where they go out and attack and score 3 or 4 and win the game. That's what you do. So
what's going to happen this season? Because why is mid-table?
Yeah.
Are you coming up?
I don't think we'll come up this season because I think we're waiting. It's took too long for the team to gel. You got to remember, from a team last season that was all about not go forward, there was too many gaps between the lines, between attack and midfield. A manager to change that to the opposite of that, a team that's going to go forward. We have 3 strikers on the pitch now, and you can't do it in 3 months. I think a lot of fans have to accept that this is a season of transition. This is going to be a year where nothing happens. Maybe next year will be the year that they push on, I think.
Are you laughing at Sunderland right now?
I don't really care, to be honest. I don't want to see them go down. I don't really see Sunderland. I don't look at Sunderland and think I want to see them get beat. I don't really look at it that way. I don't want to see them go down, but I think they might do. I think they're a club that I think gravity's caught up with them. I think they spent too long, 5 or 6 years, just trying to stay in the division. The problem that Sunderland have got is behind the scenes with the boardroom and the people that own it. Nobody's interested in taking the club forward. They're not putting any money into it. The players don't really care. A lot of them are there just to be paid. And that's the problem when you drop down a division. You can't change that overnight either, and they've still got the same infrastructure behind the scenes, so I fear for Sunderland for that reason.
Just going to touch upon like how Newcastle fans judge Middlesbrough fans for a second, because I've got a Borough fan with it. Now, a lot of Newcastle fans, including myself, don't see Middlesbrough as a derby. Why is that?
Because I think Sunderland are in the way. I think Sunderland are closer. You've always had a rivalry with them. I don't really feel that Sunderland and Newcastle are our rivals either. As a Borough fan, we like playing them and we want to beat you, but it's not a derby for a majority of Borough fans either.
So why did the media hype it up? Oh, it's this derby, Tyne's derby and all of this.
That's the media's job, isn't it?
Well, good point. Thank you very much, David, coming on. Right, Felix, do you want to speak? Right, about Jamaal Lascelles. We're just coming off Middlesbrough. We'll talk about Jamaal Lascelles signing his new deal. Well, he signed a 5-year deal, absolutely fantastic. What was the initial thoughts on him signing that deal? Need you hold the mic.
Well, I'm happy. Like, I think he's like the main player who like cares the most. Who really cares about wins and performances. Like, he cares more about college than he did in his latter years. And when he was on his last legs at Newcastle, Jamaal Lascelles, I think he's someone who can take us into a new era of being a decent side again.
So you've talked about Jamaal Lascelles. He's grown from ever since that away trip in the Southampton when we got beat and he stood up against his seniors, so to speak. He's grown from like a boy into a man, hasn't he? Yeah. So he's shown the leadership and he's captain. Is he a person that you're proud to have as your captain?
Yeah, because at that point it's dark. Most people knew we were pretty much going down at that point. And he was someone who was like, he was not afraid to criticise, he was not afraid to, shape people and get them right. And I think now he has done that and we're doing well again.
What's the future of Jamaal Lascelles? Can he break into that England side?
Oh, hopefully. I mean, the England side definitely isn't very good at the moment. Playing people like Jake Livermore as a starting player. I think, in the future he could, if we can remain a good mid-table or top half size, and yeah, he could.
Thank you very much, Felix. So that's Felix, who actually writes for us. He's one of the columnists on Newcastle Fans TV. So if you want to see more of his work, head over to our website, Newcastle Fans TV, and you'll see Felix all over the articles on there as well. Josh, are you a mad Newcastle fan?
I wouldn't say a mad one, but I'll try and answer your questions.
Right, okay then. Do you remember much about the fight between Jamaal Lascelles, Mo Diame and Jonjo Shelby trying to break it up?
I've heard about it. I remember watching the Southampton game and seeing Shelby in the cast. I was like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah, so what happened is, so for guys, all you just know who are listening, but we're just recapping and everything. So it was alleged that Jamaal Lascelles was unhappy with how Mo Diame's work ethic. And he turned around and called him lazy in the training grounds. Mo Diame came back around and gave him an insult back, which you would normally do. Human nature, isn't it? Yeah. And then there's alleged to have a fight between the two of them. And obviously Jamaal Lascelles is the captain. Jonjo Shelby gets in the middle of it. He gets his arm whacked. Is it something that you don't encourage it, but I mean, the bit of passion, a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? You're caring for the club there.
So, with Jamaal Lascelles, he's telling Mo Diame to step up his game. I wouldn't expect him to fight back. I would just agree with him. Yeah, just have a good go. You're not on the starting 11 anymore, is he? So if he steps up his game, he might get some more playtime.
Yeah, I mean, Mo Diame's been accused not just by players themselves, it's the media as well as fans, saying that he's very lazy. But to be fair to him, was just jumping ahead a few games here. I looked alright when he came on against Crystal Palace. So thank you very much, Josh. No problem. And I'm going to move back to final two at the back. So we just talked about Jamaal Lascelles, then we're just touching upon now Mikel Merino signing his permanent deal at the club. So it was, I need his names again, sorry. Gordon and
Ollie,
who comments on YouTube. I'll remember that, don't worry, Ollie. So Ollie, just before I touch on that, you've come all the way up from Birmingham, haven't you? That is mad. Do you want to explain why you've come up from Birmingham?
Well, most of my family live up in Newcastle, but I made sure that this half term I could come up here for the Newcastle match and for this walk as well.
So, why you want to get involved in the walk?
I mean, to sort of raise the awareness, like the whole point of the walk, to keep people like Bradley with his condition, like keep them alive and raise money for it.
Yeah, so it's good that you know that we're trying to raise money for the Bradley Lowery, which will come towards the end of the podcast. Now, your thoughts on Mikel Merino? Just touch upon Gordon. I'll come to you first. Since we've obviously we bought him on we didn't buy him first. He came on a loan, and what a find he seems to be.
Well, I think he's very calm. He's very calm, very cultured. I think when he came on Saturday alongside Shelby, the two of them seemed to strike up a partnership straight away. I think he's just very calm, very thoughtful. Definitely an asset. Definitely.
Seems to be a bit of a buy under 10 million, doesn't he?
Given what they pay for them now, yes, you're right.
Bit of a find, sorry.
Bit of a find, yeah.
What's your hopes for Mikel Merino? Is that place now cemented for him?
Sorry?
Is Mikel Merino's now cemented the centre midfield? Does he need to start against Burnley?
Well, I wasn't. When Hayden was playing on Saturday, I wasn't quite sure what role he was meant to be doing, and I think he was ahead of Shelby a lot of the game. And I thought, well, if you're going to do that, you'd be better playing Mourinho.
Yeah, I think you need competition, don't you?
You do, yeah.
Can he go on and play for Spain, or is that too early to say?
I don't know how old is he. Not sure how old he is.
He's 21.
Oh well, yeah, good chance, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to come to your grandson, Ollie. What's your thoughts on Mikel Merino?
I think he's actually quite good. I think he comes in to battle like Shelby and Hayden. I mean, Shelby and Hayden are decent, but he comes up with a good backup, because our old backup was like Jack Colback and stuff.
Do you know, you mentioned competition there. Do you think it's good that the likes of Shelby has that competition? Because Shelby hasn't started all the games so far this season. We've seen him on the bench even after his suspension. That's what the squad needs, isn't it? You need a bit of competition in there.
Yeah, it's good because he's quite. I find him quite similar to Shelby, not too dissimilar. I mean, he can sort of play defensive and attacking as well.
Yeah.
So it's good for Hayden.
I think he looks very classy, very sexy on the eyes, as I keep saying on my videos, you know. So I think what a find he is by Rafa Benitez. I think you've got to look at it and think, wow, he's done his job there. And it just goes to show you, you don't need to go and spend 40-50 million for a classy centre midfielder. What's your hopes now for Merino? How far can he push?
I think because of his age, and he's only 21, I think he can push into the first team and potentially go on and be a Spain national as well.
Do you reckon he can, because they've got some talent?
Yeah, I think so, but just because he's young and he's got potential, he's performing well in the Premier League, so I think he can do.
It's important that we keep him, and obviously he's signed that 5-year deal after that 5-year.
Yeah, try and keep him for at least 2 or 3 years, get his full potential out of him. It should help us stay up this season.
Right, thank you very much, Ollie. So that's Ollie who come all the way up from Birmingham, which is absolutely madness. Thank you very much, Ollie. So I'm just going to jump ahead and catch another Mackham before we get on to Newcastle. So this is Sarah, who I've caught up with now. I'm about halfway up the walk with the people. There's roughly about 25 people here. So I'm just going to I'll ask you the question. So in a serious matter, I know I wind you up at work about Sunderland and all that kind of stuff, but are you a bit worried this season? I'm going to need you to hold the mic.
Yeah, not a good season at all, Lee. I think could go down, to be fair. Don't think the troubles are with the players themselves. I think the trouble is back room, and I think it has been for a long time.
So is it something that's been coming for a while? Because you mentioned that. So Ellis Short, you're talking about there in the boardroom, because he's trying to sell the club, isn't he? It doesn't. Whereas Newcastle, it looks positive, trying to sell the club. Whereas Sunderland looks very negative at the moment. Is Simon Grayson can only work with what he's been given money with, but should have you copied? I don't want to say copy Newcastle, but when we went down, you looked at Newcastle and say, right, we need to buy high-end Championship players, lower-end Premier League players who know the division, who can still get us out this division. Or do you think it's look, let's just consolidate in this league? What's your thoughts going into the new? I know where you are now, but what was your thoughts going into the new season?
So thoughts even going into the new season. I thought we were going to go mid-table. I think we need to consolidate, look at what we've got. We need to build the club back up. Troubles have definitely gone back a long time. I'd probably say when Niall Quinn was in, it seems to have gone downhill since then. Not quite sure what's going on in the back room. Definitely not good, needs sorting out. need to get the club back to its former glory where it was.
Question then for you: is Simon Grayson the right man?
I think Grayson can only do what he's got. When he came, I thought, great, we've got a manager who knows what he's doing. Teams definitely pulled round, not had the right results. We're playing a lot better than they were beforehand.
Are you going to stay up?
If we subject that one, I've got a bad feeling we might be going down.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wind you up and all of that, but I don't really want to say. I do, but I don't at the same time as well. Like, I know there's a bit of rivalry between the two clubs. The North East footballs, professionally anyways, I know they're non-link sided and a lot better, but not professionally. Newcastle are leading the way. And are you jealous of Newcastle in any sense?
No, never been jealous of Newcastle, mate. Miss the rivalry, miss Derby Day. Let's hope we get it back up there at some point, someday. Definitely something that's missed twice a year amongst the fans.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Sarah. I shall wind you up more at work, of course, as you know I will.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to speed up, Lawrence, if you want to walk, if you'll have to walk. So I'm going to move forward to the Newcastle. Going to move back to Newcastle. So obviously that was a Sunderland talk. So Mikel Merino signed the deal. We then went to Southampton. I'm going to get Alicia's thoughts on this one. Sharky, could you do me a favour? In the back of my bag, grab my battery pack out as I walk. The little pocket. So we drew with Southampton 2-2 at St Mary's. Just have a feel. Then zip it back up. So we drew 2-2 with Southampton. This is as you were. There's roadworks going on and all sorts next of us. So we drew 2-2 with goals from Hayden and Perez as well. And Gabbiadini got 2 as well. Now, before we get into the game, should Yedlin been sent off? Need to hold it?
Yes, probably, because to be fair, it was 2 yellows, if you look at it that way. And if that was against us, we would want him to get sent off. So
talk about the game.
Coming away from that, disappointing. It feels like you dropped 2 points. But going into that game, I would have took the point. But the way we played, I just think we were better than them. And the penalty incident was very clumsy. And I think if we hadn't have got that, we probably could have held on for the win.
What do you reckon of at this present time? Because Jose Perez scored. It was nice to actually see him score.
Yeah.
He needed that, didn't he?
Yeah, he needed that because he's getting a lot of stick from the fans. That we haven't got a lot of choice with number 10, so I think he did really need to start a step up.
Yeah.
You've got him or Mo Diame, so there's not that much competition there, so I think he did need to show his worth of why he should be there.
He needed to go on. He needed to go and kick on, didn't he? So it looks like we're entering. It's Gateshead, isn't it? Yeah. So we're coming up with Heworth. That's where we are. So we drew 2-2 Southampton. Looking at Mikel Merino not starting, that was a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a shock. He'd been putting in decent performances, but is it going to look like he's going to start being that kind of like super sub? Because he hasn't been played as such, but he does come on and make that impact later on in the game.
Do you think it's good now that because I was saying just earlier on that John Joe Shelby hasn't started every game, even though he came back from his suspension? Is this more you're going to see the likes of Merino, Hayden and Shelby? Is this a thing that we're going to see all season, rotation?
Hopefully. I like the idea of that because competition, it'll keep them on the toes and it'll make them put 110% in every game because they know that their place isn't safe with Rafa Benitez. He's very ruthless, he doesn't care about what your name, where you've played before. If you don't put a shift in, you're not going to get a place.
Fantastic point though. I know you said that you're disappointed to throw 2 points away, but if I said to you, right, we're going to Southampton, get a point, you would have took that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Going into that game, I was saying that it was going to be a close game because I think similarly this season we have been quite close teams. So I was like, yeah, it's going to be that kind of game. But when we went into it, we're just from the off, we're much better. Yeah. And I think we really should have come away with that 3 points.
Yeah. I think you're all right because we obviously took the lead and then we took the lead again. Gabbiadini came back and haunted us, so to speak. Just touched upon that Florian Lejeune challenge. That was a shocking one. It was lazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was lazy. It was getting the end of the game. I think again it's that, as I said before, the lapse in concentration can really punish you in the Premier League because there's so much more. Referees aren't as consistent still, but things like that they will definitely punish you for because the Premier League's completely different.
And it's interesting because he came straight in from the lineup as well, no Kieran Clark either.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting, but you've had an international break, But apparently Rafa didn't actually know he made that change.
Did he not?
Apparently, when I watched the interview, I don't think he actually realised that he made that change.
Interesting. So we came away with the point, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got an awful record down there. Yedlin should have gone for me. We're lucky, and Newcastle obviously fans say that we don't get many things that go our way as well. I'm going to ask a few years around this because this is the big talking point at this podcast. Is Mike Ashley's up for sale? Not Mike Ashley. Mike Ashley's put Newcastle up for sale with the potential of Amanda Staveley coming in. So two things for you, Shannon. First of all, the news that Mike Ashley come up and announced that, look, St James's Holdings Limited are putting Newcastle up for sale. And then secondly, your thoughts on Amanda Staveley looks the favourite because she's looking into the club with the accounts and so on. So, yeah, fire away.
I think it's the right time for Ashley to go now, kind of like third time lucky thing. But I think he's now realised he can't take the club any further. And I think he's realised somebody else needs to come in and invest, and he's realised this really needs a lot of money chucking at it. They've got top European manager that's gone there, won it at big teams. And I think he's starting to realise what Newcastle could do. With Amanda Staveley, I'd like to see her come in. She's a good businesswoman, she knows what she's doing. But then...
Does she know football?
That's the thing, that's what I was about to say. Does she know what she's getting into? But then she's also worked with the likes of Man City, so she knows what she's kind of doing. So that's my thing at the minute with our past records, with who she's worked with at other clubs. I think it could be a good idea.
Do you think because I know there is everything is rumours at the moment for everything. So everything's going on with rumours. Like she might just be the negotiator, and they bring their own men in as well. Do you get rid of the current board? You have to the board at the moment, haven't you?
Well, yeah, because that's like people that Mike Ashley's brought in. To be honest, I don't think that Rafa likes them, because for a while he was kind of reportedly Charlie, although that's changed now. There's still going to be that feeling of where's the power at between them two. So I think, just start again, really.
And let's just say the deal doesn't happen. What happens in January?
Hopefully he invests. He's probably not going to, but we can hope. But we're going to need for backups, because January is going to come, and if we start getting injuries, then we're going to start slipping down the table, which is what we don't want to happen.
Do you think he will throw money at it if he stays? Well, do you think Rafa will go?
He says he's going to chuck money at it. I don't think Rafa will go, because I think Rafa knows the situation, that the club will eventually probably be sold. I know. But I don't think he's going to chuck money at it. Unfortunately I don't, because he said it so many times, and it's like empty words really, because we all know it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Lisa. Felix, Mike Ashley selling up. What's your memories of Mike Ashley?
Just it's all just negative, because I haven't been supporting Newcastle for as long as other people have, but I don't think my view is particularly unique on Mike Ashley. It's what
You've
most
only
people
ever
believe.
known Mike Ashley, haven't you?
Yeah.
Has been there at the club.
Yeah, and not even the good days, whatever. But I think he saved from something to do with the Serge on Hall stand, putting loads of money in the club. It's after that I've known him as just a villain.
Yeah, you've noticed him in the villain. So obviously you're what, 13, 14? 13, so we've got nearly 14. So you're probably the youngest one here. Actually, in fact, you are by a mile. You've only really known Mike Ashley, haven't really known anyone else to come in, which is obviously just because of your age. Do you remember any good times under him?
There was a brief period in the 14-15 season where we were winning a lot.
Is that when we come fifth?
No, 14-15, near the end we became really bad, but there was a point where we won 6 in a row or something. We went beating Liverpool and stuff. And there was this, and I remember a banner that said "Pardew back from the dead." It was Halloween thing. I used to laugh. That was the first good time, but then it just suddenly collapsed.
Nothing else?
No.
So there you go. That's from a 13-year-old who's got no good memories of Mike Ashley, which is just goes to show you, Mike. Sharky, I've got Sharky just for next of us now. We're going to talk about Mike Ashley, because I know you'll want you to say on this. So Mike Ashley announced that he's selling the club, blah blah blah, and Amanda Staveley coming in. So I want a couple of your thoughts on. Your initial thoughts on Mike Ashley, good times, bad times, or was there any good times? Is it the right decision? Can we get a third time lucky? And Amanda Staveley coming in, is she the right one? What can she do with the club as a nearly foul hour?
Right, so Mike Ashley, it's not been great, has it? He's been here 10 years. We've had 2 relegations. We've gone down with the 2 teams that we've gone down with. First back in 2009 and the second one back in 2016. Both have been really good teams on paper, and you wonder how we went down with them. And I think it's all down to bad mismanagement, which is obviously the reason why Mike Ashley hasn't got it right at the football club. Poor recruitment from the board. Joe Kinnear. You've already got to look at like Alan Pardew, Steve McLaren. It just hasn't worked out. And stadium name change, the Sports Direct Arena, which to be fair, why would you do that? I mean, St James's Park is Kevin Keegan, walking away. Players were getting signed behind his back. Players that he didn't even want Kevin Keegan, and he made
Someone
it
shut that Gobby Mackham up behind him.
Yeah, and like I say, it was one fail to another really, and. Obviously the fans will always continue to support the club, but for what he's given to the club's not good. And selling some of our best players, that was the major issue as well. But the teams get Demabar, teams, players like that, dismantled. And if you keep dismantling your team, you're not really going to progress, are you? And we're not really progressing under Mike Ashley. We are slightly now under Rafa Benitez, but Rafa Benitez wants money in January, and I think the reason why Mike Ashley wants to sell up now is because of the financial situation and all the things in the background, the Majesty's Revenue and Customs and things like that. And I think, would you say third time lucky? I very much hope it is third time lucky. Will Amanda Staveley take over? It's questions, it's ifs and buts. There's also other rumours of potential takeovers, but at the moment it's all up in the air at the moment. We don't know, do we?
So let's just say that Amanda Staveley, because I'd give the opposite when I asked Alicia just before that. We don't. She doesn't come in, or she doesn't buy it in time by January. That's what I asked Alicia. But let's just say she does. Right. She comes in. The first thing you're going to look at is the squad straight away, maybe the academy afterwards. So you look at the squad, the academy. Is there anything else, or is it just focusing on the first team at the moment? And if it is just the first team, where do you strengthen?
Well, certainly we've got to strengthen up front, because we are missing that creative number 10 in that midfield. We are missing a forward that can possibly get you 15 to 20 goals a season. Someone, Dwight Gill at the minute, is not really firing the goals, and obviously he's injury prone. He's really struggling at the moment. And again, I think Rafa Benitez does need a lot, some money. Maybe, let's be realistic, 70 to 100 million pound, just to try and get the team where it should be.
January, or is that
over the space?
Is that January, or do you think that'll have to be next summer?
Possibly in the summer. If you give about 40 million, then I think I'll be happy with that. Just maybe get that striker, get a left back in, a centre back, someone who's just going to try and strengthen him in these key areas, because we are struggling a bit, at the left back position.
So what else happens at the club then? Because obviously the squad's done. Let's just say we're challenging whatever for Europe year on the FPL. You got to look at improving the academies, because I don't think Newcastle. Yes, Rafa's made slight improvements to the academy. But I don't think there's great amount of Newcastle don't have the greatest training grounds. People shouting in the background. What is your thoughts on the training ground? Do we need a new board?
I think we do need a new board. We need new ideas. I think we definitely try and do what Man City are doing and try and build a new sort of a state-of-the-art training complex where the reserves in the academy can go and train. Something like what Man City have got, what I was alluding to just there. If we can try and get what they've got, I know it may cost a lot of money, but that's what we need to do to try and progress these young players on. And it's important that we try and get them into the first team, because there's not many there's not many reserves that have gone into the first team.
Josh.
And that's the massive issue. And a lot of them are getting sent out on loan. You've only got to look at the likes of Adam Armstrong. They're not really getting game time, and it's hard, isn't it? And this is why the reserves are struggling, because they know that the future of the first team's not really there.
Just touching about the youngsters in the 23s, we've got no one breaking through. You've got to chuck money at the club and the investment in the youth academy, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, even if you have to go far and wide, if you have to go to Europe and scout in Spain, Germany, some of the best talents in Germany and some of the best talents also in Spain. Again, we've just got Mikel Merino, and he's a young lad who couldn't get in the Borussia Dortmund team, and look what he's doing now for Rafa Benitez. So I just think we've got to go and scout around the world. Let's just look at a different market. I mean, and try to do what. Yeah. So.
No, cheers for that, Shorty. Someone wants to get the Metro, they bottled it. Very disappointed. We're only in Wardley at the minute. So here comes the rain. It's all part of the fun. Hello, Jamie, you got to talk or what? No, Jamie's too shy to actually speak on audio. Right, so that was obviously the Mike Ashley and the carry on with Amanda Staveley. My thoughts on that is, look, just be careful of what you wish for, as I've mentioned that before. Mike Ashley's obviously put the club up for sale, but we've already seen it twice before. That it never happened. Yes, this looks a lot more promising, and I am excited, I am hopeful, but there's a little bit of doubt in the back of my mind who comes in, because yes, Amanda Staveley says that she's got all this money and she might pass the fit for the Premier League, because the Premier League will obviously do checks on her group as well. That goes through, you chuck money on it, but you've got to keep chucking money on it. There's no point doing it for 1 or 2 transfer windows. You've got to keep going, because if you don't keep going, again you become stale and be back to square one. So that's my initial window. So this even if it does come in for January, you can't get massive players in January. You probably get 1 or 2 maybe. It's next summer is going to be the big one, and all you can ask for at the moment with Rafa is keep doing what you're doing, keep us in a nice lofty position as well, and my sheet of paper goes flying into someone's garden. Right, so moving on there, so going to be talking about the under-23s. Lawrence, I'll get you to speak on this one. The under-23s, went to Southampton the very next day after we defeated Southampton, and actually got punished 6. They got 6 whacked past them. Absolutely shocking display. Sharky's just touched upon it there, that we're not having any under-23s breaking through the first team. Is it because the talent in the area is poor? What's the problem? Can you hold the mic?
I don't know what the problem is. To be honest,
7 games we haven't won.
Right. I mean, I don't know what's happening. I mean, is it the recruitment?
Is it Beardsley?
Maybe it is.
So a couple of things there. You could be Beardsley, could be the recruitment. I think it's a mixture of all sorts. I think, like I mentioned, if that new owner does come in, I think you've got to look at it top and bottom. I know Peter Beardsley is obviously on the club, and maybe move him to a different position, because it's clear that the talent is struggling at Newcastle. And it's probably not just Newcastle, it's probably down across the northeast as well. We're in the Premier League, and you've got to be ready to play in the Premier League. You look at that under-23 squad, and you think to yourself, right, he can make the bench every week. You're struggling, aren't you? I mean, you always say that the under-23s, that Jamaal Lascelles is going to be the next one to come through, but can he? Because already he signed his new 1-year contract extension, and there's already talk that he wants to go out on loan, because he's not getting anywhere near the first team. And it's disappointing that we're not seeing any local talent come through. And we touched upon coming back to the under-23s when we played Blackburn. Now, me and Sharky watched the 2-0 defeat at Whitley Park against Blackburn, and again the under-23 suffering another defeat. And you were just saying there before, Sharky, as I've moved back up, there's no talent coming through, and there's no one who looks, yes, you can say Jamaal Lascelles, Fernandez might be one for the future, but there's no one knocking on the front door at the moment. And there's a few people on Twitter saying Peter Beardsley needs to go and all of this, because the under-23s are just not progressing, stuck in the second division. What's your initial thoughts on that game, and of course the under-23s in general?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great spectacle, was it? I mean, Rolando Aarons, who we've seen in the first team quite a bit last season, well, towards the end of it, that was sort of his game to shine, really. But he was okay, but the issue with Rolando Aarons is, yes, he makes decent runs, but his decision making isn't great. And obviously with the players that you were just mentioning there, they're not really standing out, they're not really delivering, and I think that is a definite problem for Peter Beardsley. We're stuck at the second division, something has to give. I mean, when you watch that game on Friday, we were too static at times, the shape wasn't there, and we didn't really take any risks in that game. Even despite going 1-0 down at the run of play in the first half, we just looked too static. I mean, even at the final third we were lacking, and I just believe that we should have been a little bit better, and I think Blackburn deserved the win. I mean, they weren't brilliant, but they took the chances that they got given, and that's what Newcastle have to do. When you pick up the ball, you've got to be able to make something happen, and we just didn't do that on Friday, and it was a sorry defeat for the end for the under-23s.
What's the problem? Why aren't we getting any? Is the talent just not there?
Service, it all goes down to service, doesn't it?
The talent not coming through.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really scouting any better markets. I mean, I was just alluding before, why don't we go to Germany, why don't we go to Spain? You could just got to look at Huddersfield, that they were going into the second division of Germany and picking up gems. We've got one at the minute in Mikel Merino, but he's in the first team currently. But why can't we just go and scout the world and go and pick up some talent that want to play for the shirt, and want to try and get into that first team, give Rafa a headache? And at the minute, Rafa hasn't really got that headache, if you get what I mean. The headache's more on the bench of the first team. If players are trying to knock on the door, but it's hard to put your finger on it at the moment.
Champion, right, I'll come to Anthony, and then I'll come to Johnny to finish up. So, quite recently we beat Palace 1-0. Again, Mikel Merino left out the side, but hey, he comes up and grabs the winner, but that was awful, absolutely awful to watch, wasn't it?
The whole game was very scrappy, very rough. It was like either pre-season or the very first Premier League game you play, when everybody's passing isn't quite the same.
Do you know what it reminded me of? The Championship?
Yeah, it was very... You could see some players trying. Zaha got on the ball a lot, Townsend, and for us, Richie. But as soon as they got it, not much seemed to be able to happen.
So we won the game. I know it was scrappy. There was misplaced passes everywhere from both sides. You're right, Zaha was very lively first half. I thought Newcastle dealt with him pretty easily, to be fair. I thought Lascelles. But you look at if you look at the side going forward, you would never pick forward players to be standouts in this. I know Merino come off the bench, yeah. But again, Newcastle's defence keeping another clean sheet, and it's very compact, Rafa, isn't it? These displays recently, we're not blitzing teams left, right and centre. We're nicking it by the goal. I know we beat West Ham 3-0 earlier on the season, but generally speaking, teams don't beat us by much and we don't win by much. Very, very Italian-like, isn't it?
Yeah, very. There's a reason why we've got the fourth best defence in the Premier League at the moment, at least. Defensively, very compact. Even on the wings with the full-backs, both of them are still doing a fair job, considering the fact that Benitez seems to favour, especially in the Edlin's case, the full-backs going forward. He really likes the full-backs to go forward, and then obviously the three at the back have to sort of spread out a bit. Yeah. Fourth best defence in the Premier League, incredibly good, but especially we'll lack the striker, or at least a striker that's going to score a lot.
Didn't get any service, I don't think.
There isn't a special. No, not really. For whatever reason, Shelvey in particular hasn't really done what he did in the Championship as much. You haven't seen balls all over to left and right hand sides, despite.
Is that because of Rafa's tactics, or is that because he's not allowed to do that, or why?
I think, especially with Shelvey, I think he's been moved further back, and I think that other teams have cottoned on to the wingers. Because both Richie and actually, I'd argue Atu looks better than last year. Richie's pretty much the same kind of quality that we've always had in the Championship, but the balls just don't seem to be coming to the wingers. I don't know if he's been told to move further back, especially if Merino's in the team, because of course Hayden is a defensive player, so
you need that other one to bomb on, don't you?
Yeah, and at the moment, even when Hayden's in the team, Shelvey doesn't seem to bomb on too much, because I haven't seen him make those little jinks and runs that you saw him do occasionally in the Championship. You don't see him get forward too much, which works for the defence, but doesn't really work going forward.
Yeah. So Mikel Merino on the bench again. I think that's because I think Hayden had a good game at Southampton, but he comes off and grabs the winner. Yeah. Surely he's got to start against Burnley.
It depends on what Rafa wants to do. See, one advantage of when Merino comes on later on is that the players in front of him are a bit tired.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've been chasing Shelvey and chasing Hayden around, chasing after defence. So as soon as Merino comes on, he can do more or less what he wants. He's got the stamina and the pace, whereas the people in front of him don't have it. So especially if you're going away against a team like Burnley, who defensively are incredibly good. They don't have much in attack, but defensively they're good. I'd picture him starting with Hayden, to be honest. I'd like to see Merino do it, because of course it's a very attacking side if you choose Merino over Hayden, but I can see him trying to think, right, hold off on the first half, try to get it to even 0-0 or something like that, or nick a goal, whichever, and then second half bring Merino on and really push on.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Where is he? Yeah, Johnny, I'll finish up with you. Again, just your thoughts on the Palace game. It was pretty awful to watch, as we know. You came on the fan cams, but you were just saying, look, it's 3 points at the end of the day and you'll take it. What's your general thoughts on that game? And secondly, Mikel Merino, does he start against Burnley?
Firstly, I think the first 85 minutes were awful, but again, as I said on my fan cam, we'd take a 1-0 win like that every day of the week. I think Merino does have to start on Monday night. I'd just a straight swap with him and for Hayden. I don't think Hayden's done much wrong, but I think he just adds a little bit more dimension to our game. He likes to take the ball forward, which is well. He does, doesn't he? And I think that is the difference between him and Hayden. Even though Hayden hasn't really done much wrong, he is a bit more defensive. Which, if we say we've got a 1-0 lead and we've got to hold on maybe for the last 20 minutes on Monday, he'd be the ideal replacement, because he will just sit in front of that back four. And he'll just work, he'll scrap, and he'll just make sure that he's protecting the defence in front of him, which maybe allows Shelvey to have a little bit more of the ball in the second third or the final third of the pitch.
Now Mitrovic come on. I know Mitrovic is like loved and hate, isn't he? He come on and he caused a bit of chaos because Palace knew what was coming. Whereas Mitrovic likes to get in your face and cause it up, cause a little stir and everything, whereas Hossel likes to feet and hold it off and so on. Would you be tempted? I know I don't think he will, but would you be tempted to go for Mitrovic on Monday, or is he still that worry that Rafa has about him, about his discipline?
think he still has that worry, doesn't he? I think, look, regardless of who it is, it's going to be a physical contest against Burnley. We know what they're like. They're like a pub side. That's no disrespect. They're like a pub side. You know what you're going to get from them. They're going to just be physical. They're going to get elbows in, and I just think you'd get wound up. I think you're better off leaving for the next game against Bournemouth at home. You have the fans on his side as well. So I would still stick with Joselu, but yeah, he's not. I don't think he's going to make many changes to that starting lineup from Saturday. Again, it's a winning team. You know, he's not going to make many changes to a winning team or an unbeaten team, shall we say? Because we've only lost 3 games all season in 9-10 games, which isn't too bad at all. I think we would have taken out at the start of the season the 14 points from 9 games. So, yeah, cautiously optimistic.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Right then, so that has been the end of the podcast then. So obviously this podcast is, we're raising money for, Bradley Lowery Foundation, which is gofundme.com/Bradley Lowery. And that's what the aim is for this walk, and everyone's feeling the tiredness and kicking in, the ankles are starting, the hips and so on. But that's been the end of the very podcast. Thank you very much for listening on iTunes. If you're listening on YouTube, SoundCloud or Podomatic, thank you very much. It means a lot if you can donate even something little. Thanks for listening. Thanks, bye bye.